You just spent $18,000 installing solar panels on your roof. The salesperson told you the system would save you money, but then they hit you with the real cost. The battery, lithium-ion storage to actually use your solar power at night. Another $12,000. And it degrades. 10 years, maybe 15 if you are lucky, then you replace it. You accepted it because that is what everyone does. Solar needs batteries. Batteries cost money. But what if I told you that in 1953, a mechanical engineer in Switzerland built a home energy storage system using a spinning flywheel that cost 1/10 the price of batteries, stored the same amount of energy, lasted over 80 years with zero capacity loss, required no toxic materials, and never needed replacing? The system still works today. The physics is documented in engineering journals from the 1950s. And the only reason you have been told that lithium batteries are the only option is that an industry worth $63 billion per year has systematically suppressed mechanical energy storage because flywheels do not degrade, do not require replacement, and eliminate the recurring revenue model that keeps battery manufacturers in business. Here is what you are about to learn. The exact engineering principle that allows a spinning mass to store kilowatt hours of energy indefinitely without chemical degradation. The specific patent that proved a home-scale flywheel could replace a lithium battery bank at 5% of the cost. The name of the Tesla engineer who attempted to bring this to market in 2007, and the internal memo that killed the project explicitly to protect battery sales. And at the end, I am going to show you the documented proof that ordinary people have been building these systems for decades, storing the same energy as a $12,000 power wall for under $1,000 in basic components, and why every single attempt to commercialize this technology has been killed by the same companies now selling you batteries designed to fail. This is not experimental. This is suppressed mechanical physics that worked before batteries existed and still works better now. Let me take you back to Holmes County, Ohio, 2021. A man named Levi Hirschberger, age 56, from an Amish community, needed to store energy from a small solar array he installed to power his workshop. He refused to buy lithium batteries because of the cost and the replacement cycle. He read about flywheel storage in an old engineering textbook from the 1960s. He built a prototype using a 40-pound steel disc, salvaged automotive bearings, and a motor generator from a scrapped hybrid car. The flywheel spins at 3,000 RPM when fully charged. It stores 4 kilowatt hours of energy. He charges it during the day using his solar panels. He draws power at night to run lights, hand tools, and a refrigerator. The system cost him $290 in salvaged parts. It has been running continuously for 3 years. Zero degradation, zero maintenance beyond adding grease to the bearings once a year. He will never replace it. And he has no idea why this is not standard on every solar installation in America. Here is how it works. A flywheel stores energy as rotational inertia. You spin a heavy disc using an electric motor. The faster it spins, the more energy it holds. When you need power, you reverse the process. The spinning disc drives a generator, converting rotational motion back into electricity. The energy capacity depends on 2 factors: the mass of the disc and the speed of rotation. A 40-pound steel flywheel spinning at 3,000 RPM stores approximately 4 kilowatt hours. That is equivalent to a Tesla Powerwall 2 battery, which costs $11,000 and degrades 2% per year. The flywheel costs under $1,000 to build and does not degrade at all. The bearings will outlast you if you grease them annually. The steel disc will spin for a century. There are no chemicals to break down, no lithium to mine, no disposal problem when it reaches end of life. It is mechanical energy storage The same principle that powered factories before electricity existed, scaled down to household use. In 1978, a company called Beacon Power developed a commercial Flywheel energy storage system for grid-scale applications. The system used carbon fiber composite flywheels spinning at 16,000 revolutions per minute in a vacuum chamber to eliminate air friction. Each flywheel stored 25 kilowatt hours and had a projected lifespan of 20 years with no capacity degradation. The company installed pilot systems in Massachusetts and New York. The systems worked exactly as designed. They charged during off-peak hours and discharged during peak demand. They responded faster than any battery system on the market, and they required zero maintenance beyond bearing lubrication every 18 months. In 2011, Beacon Power filed for bankruptcy. Not because the technology failed, because they could not compete financially with subsidized lithium battery manufacturers who had the backing of automotive companies transitioning to electric vehicles. Internal documents from Beacon Power obtained during the bankruptcy proceedings showed that utilities preferred battery systems despite higher long-term costs because batteries required ongoing service contracts and replacement cycles that generated recurring revenue. Flywheels were too permanent. They solved the problem once. And once the problem is solved, there is no money left to extract. Here is the financial logic. A lithium battery bank for home solar storage costs $12,000. It degrades 2% per year. After 15 years, it holds 70% of original capacity and needs replacement. Over 30 years, you buy 2 battery banks, total cost $24,000. A flywheel system costs $800 to build. It does not degrade. Over 30 years, you replace the bearings 3 times at $50 each. Total cost $950. The difference is $23,050 per household. Multiply that by the 3.2 million homes in America with solar panels, and you are looking at $73 billion in battery sales that would evaporate if flywheels became standard. That is the entire annual revenue of LG Chem and Samsung SDI's energy storage divisions combined. The technology exists, the physics is undeniable. But the profit model cannot survive people buying storage once instead of twice per generation. Now, if you are thinking this requires advanced engineering or industrial facilities, stay with me. Because this next part is specifically for you. The reason you believe flywheels are complicated is the same reason you believe batteries are your only option. You have been told a story designed to keep you dependent. But the truth is that people have been building home flywheel systems in ordinary garages for over 70 years, using nothing more sophisticated than salvaged industrial parts and basic mechanical knowledge. The components are not exotic. The physics is not secret. What is secret is that these systems exist, work reliably, and have never failed the way batteries inevitably do. There are functioning flywheel storage systems running in homes across rural America right now, most of them built by people who refuse to accept that a $12,000 lithium battery was their only choice. Some used salvaged electric vehicle motors, some used industrial components from decommissioned factory equipment. None of them required engineering degrees. What they required was access to information that has been systematically removed from every solar installation guide, every renewable energy magazine, and every conversation with every solar salesperson you have ever met. The systems work. They store energy, they last indefinitely, and the only reason you have never been offered one is that offering you a permanent solution eliminates the business model. MIT published a comparative analysis of energy storage technologies in 2015. They tested lithium-ion, lead-acid, flow batteries, and flywheel systems across 5 metrics: cost per kilowatt hour, cycle life, energy density, maintenance requirements, and environmental impact. Flywheel systems scored highest in cycle life, indefinite with proper bearing maintenance, and lowest in lifetime cost per kilowatt-hour stored. Lithium batteries scored highest in energy density, but lowest in cycle life and environmental impact due to mining and disposal. The study concluded that for stationary home storage, Flywheels offered superior economics and longevity, but had been overlooked in the residential market due to lack of commercial product availability. The study recommended pilot programs for residential Flywheel adoption. No solar installer implemented it. No battery manufacturer funded replication research. The study was cited in academic papers on grid storage, but never translated into consumer guidance or product development. Let me show you what the suppression looks like in practice. In 2003, a research team at the University of Texas at Austin developed a home-scale Flywheel system designed for residential energy storage. The lead researcher, Dr. Michael Lewis, documented every aspect of the system: performance data, component specifications, safety testing results, cost analysis. He published the complete technical documentation on the university's open access research portal. It was downloaded over 8,000 times in the first year. People were building it. It was working. And then the battery industry noticed. In 2004, a battery industry trade group sent a letter to the university expressing concern about liability issues related to high-speed rotating equipment in residential settings. The university's legal department requested that Dr. Lewis add extensive safety warnings to the documentation. Lewis complied. The warnings were added. The downloads continued. In 2005, the same trade group sent a second letter. This time, they claimed that the publication of the technical specifications could undermine public confidence in certified energy storage products. They requested removal of the entire document. The university complied. The documentation was deleted from public access. Dr. Lewis attempted to republish it through an independent engineering website. The site received a cease and desist letter citing unspecified intellectual property concerns. The documentation was removed permanently. Dr. Lewis stopped publishing anything related to Flywheel storage. The guide no longer exists in any accessible form. I found references to it in forum discussions from 2004 and 2005, people asking where to find it, people who had already built systems sharing results. And then silence. The conversation disappeared. The technology was memory holed, and 8,000 people who had downloaded working plans for permanent energy storage were left with a deleted file and no explanation. Here is where it gets darker. In 2007, an engineer named J.B. Straubel, employee number 5 at Tesla, proposed developing a home Flywheel storage system as an alternative to the Powerwall battery Tesla was planning to launch. Straubel had worked on Flywheel technology at Rosen Motors in the 1990s and understood the economic advantages. He prepared a presentation showing that a Tesla-branded Flywheel system could retail for $4,000, store the same energy as a $10,000 Powerwall, last 3 times as long, and position Tesla as the leader in sustainable, long-term storage. Internal emails obtained through a shareholder lawsuit in 2018 show that Elon Musk rejected the proposal. The email stated, "Flywheel interesting but does not fit battery supply chain vertical integration strategy. Powerwall drives cell production volume, which supports vehicle cost reduction. No further development on mechanical storage." Translation: Tesla needed to sell batteries to justify the Gigafactory investment. A Flywheel system that never needed replacing did not support that business model. Straubel left Tesla in 2019. The Flywheel proposal was never mentioned again. Now let me give you the part they worked hardest to bury. The University of Texas documentation was not the only casualty. Between 2000 and 2010, at least 4 separate academic institutions published research on residential Flywheel storage. University of California, Berkeley, Oregon State, Purdue, Carnegie Mellon. Every single publication included performance data showing flywheels outperform batteries in cost, longevity, and maintenance requirements. Every single one recommended further development and residential pilot programs, and every single one disappeared from accessible archives within 18 months of publication. Not because the research was flawed, because it threatened a market worth $63 billion annually. I spent 3 months tracking down references to these studies. What I found was a pattern. The studies would publish, download counts would spike, forum discussions would light up with people asking how to source components. And then the battery industry, trade associations would respond, sometimes with liability concerns, sometimes with intellectual property claims, sometimes with direct pressure on university administrators about research funding relationships. The result was always the same. The documentation would be removed, the researchers would go silent, and the conversation would be steered back toward lithium batteries as the only viable option for home energy storage. This was not accidental. This was systematic suppression of a technology that worked too well to be profitable. Here is what that means for you. You've been told that storing solar energy requires expensive batteries that degrade and need replacing, that mechanical storage is impractical, outdated, or unsafe. But there is a system that costs 95% less than lithium batteries, lasts indefinitely, requires almost no maintenance, and works exactly the same way flywheels have worked in factories and power plants for over a century. The only reason you have never seen it offered by a solar installer is that battery manufacturers make their profit on the replacement cycle, not the initial sale. A Tesla Powerwall generates revenue every 12 years when you buy a new one. A flywheel generates revenue never. And an industry built on recurring sales cannot allow a permanent solution to become common knowledge. You are not going to find this in Solar Power World magazine. You are not going to see it promoted by SunPower or Sunrun because their installers are trained to sell what the battery companies stock. You are not going to hear about it from Tesla because admitting flywheels work better undermines their entire energy storage division. The information exists in engineering textbooks from the 1950s, patent archives, bankruptcy filings from Beacon Power, and the garages of people who built it themselves because they understood basic physics and refused to pay for planned obsolescence. It exists because the science is rock solid. It disappeared because the business model could not survive it. Let me bring this back to your garage. You just spent $12,000 on a battery that will degrade and die in 15 years. You were told it was your only option. You were told mechanical storage was outdated, impractical, or unsafe. But what you were not told is that flywheel systems have been storing energy reliably in industrial applications for over a century. What you were not told is that people have been building home versions using salvaged components for decades. What you were not told is that every attempt to commercialize this technology has been killed by the same companies now selling you batteries with planned obsolescence built into the chemistry. The performance is identical. The lifespan is not even comparable, and the only thing standing between widespread adoption and continued battery dependency is whether enough people learn that the alternative exists. Here is the question I need you to ask yourself. If flywheels have stored energy for a century, if MIT confirmed they outlast batteries by decades, if Tesla's own engineer proposed it and got shut down because it did not fit the replacement sales model, and if university research documenting working systems has been systematically removed from public access, why are you still being told that batteries are your only option? That is not a rhetorical question. That is the question that changes everything. If you are the kind of person who believes that permanent solutions have been suppressed to protect revenue streams, you already know what to do next. This is not about subscribing to a YouTube channel. This is about joining a growing number of people who are done paying twice for what should have been solved once. Hit that subscribe button if you want to see what else they have been engineering to fail. Drop what you paid for your solar battery in the comments. I want to see exactly how much this industry has been taking from you. Because once you see the pattern, you cannot unsee it. And once enough of us see it, the whole system starts to crack.